fertiliser. For those of you that don't know me, just get my notes together. My name's Paul and I'm Ella's dad and Chris's new father-in-law. However, I'm fully aware that my main function this afternoon is to be the warm-up man for these two star performers here. Most of you will know of Ella's interest in fashion, so I thought I would try to make my speech like that well-known item of fashion clothing, the miniskirt. Short enough to be interesting and long enough to cover the essentials. So on behalf of my wife Shell and I'd like to welcome you all here to the Fortaleza here in Pride de Luge on this very special occasion to celebrate Ella and Chris's wedding with us. I'd also like to thank you all for making the effort to come out here to the Algarve to take part in the ceremonies. But firstly, I'd like you to just spare a moment to remember those who aren't with us today, especially Ella and Chris's grandparents who have either passed away or have been unable to travel. So, what a great place for a wedding. Yeah. And what a beautiful service we've just had in the church. Ella and Chris have obviously worked very hard for months and months getting everything prepared for today. And it really shows, put a tremendous amount into this. And what a fantastic week so far, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of everyone here in saying, thanks for inviting us to your special day, which due to your efforts is very special for us too. It was a year last May, we were here in the Algarve for a week's holiday with Ella and Chris. Chris and I had just finished a round of golf at Boa Vista, and we were sat on the golf club veranda enjoying a well-earned beer, just like us boys were doing the other day. When Chris said, "Paul, I've got something to ask you," and then he went quiet. I said, "What is it, Chris?" He said, "I'd like to ask you for Ella's hand in marriage and to make an honest woman of her." I instantly replied, "It's about bloody time. You've only been going out together for 12 years. The answer is yes, and I'm sure we can have a great time celebrating for the rest of the week that we're here in Begau." Then he said, "There's just one problem." He said, "I ordered Ella's engagement ring about a week ago, but it hadn't arrived before we left to come here. So I haven't actually asked her yet. I'm going to ask her when we get back after the ring arrives. So you'll have to keep this a secret until I ask her and not say anything to anybody, including Shell." So I did. You can imagine a week later in England when the news broke and Shell found out that I'd known for over a week and not told her. I got right telling her. The first I saw of Ella was 10,753 days ago, when she was being delivered at Doncaster Maternity Hospital, not that I'm counting. That was when I knew what it was like to have such a beautiful daughter. And the years between then and now have never been a disappointment. At the time of her birth, I was the proudest and happiest father in the world, like all our boys, aren't we?
God, silence.
Ella grew into that 2-year-old that they coined the phrase for, the terrible twos. She did everything at 100 miles an hour and wanted to be in everything. As her father, I've had the privilege of watching Ella blossom from a gorgeous baby to the beautiful woman you see before you now. She obviously inherited that part from her mother, along with the talent for art. I'm sure you will agree with me that Ella looks absolutely fantastic today. You do, darling. I was absolutely gobsmacked when you walked out in that dress today. And it was both an honour and a pleasure to walk her down that church aisle. And I didn't trip up once. And Chris certainly looks well in that suit. It makes me very proud and happy to be here and just to be a small part of this celebration for Ella and Chris's wedding. Right, Ella and Chris got together 13 years ago when he was 18 and she was 16. If you're getting bored, just have a drink. I can remember Ella sat at home talking on the phone to Chris in Northern Ireland, where he was stationed with the Paras, hoping that he phoned her and not the other way around. They've been through a lot in their years together and have coped with a lot, like the long-distance relationships when they were both at uni and when Ella was on placements and they were apart. And also they've moved house several times in their goal to get their ideal jobs. They're both now well settled and established in their chosen careers, and they're both very good at what they do. Just a second. I can also brag about the qualities of my new son-in-law. Just bear with me, just check these other notes. Welcome to the family, Chris, and I can't read your writing, mate. Well, seriously, Chris has been an integral part of our family for many years now, and it's been a real pleasure and a privilege to have seen how his life and career have progressed. Like from the times when he was at uni and he used to work for me part-time, and I used to get him to do all sorts of jobs. Like the time we were going to paint the inside of the warehouse roof, because it was leaking basically. I got us both fully covered hooded soaps with face masks, but then it turned out to be the hottest day of the year when we were going to do it, and it was like a sauna in that roof space. Unfortunately, just before we started, I got called away on business. So Chris was on his own. When I got back, he'd lost about half a stone in sweat. He'd done a bloody good job. Yeah. And that's what I like about Chris. He's always willing, he always does a good job, and he always gets the good job done. He's turned into the intelligent, confident, capable, likeable man he is today, and I've got a lot of respect for him, and he's the perfect match for Ella. So well done, Maureen, you've raised an absolutely lovely lad, and we all love him to bits. So Chris, I'll just give you 3 bits of advice before I go. You must remember the words of Oscar Wilde when he said, "Women are to be loved, not understood." Secondly, your wife will always have the last word in any argument. Any words you come out with afterwards is the start of a new argument. And finally, when your wife wants your opinion, she'll give it to you. My final duty and very great privilege is to propose a toast to my daughter and new son-in-law. So would you all please all stand and join me in a toast? Just as an aside, here's to the past for all that you've learned, here's to the present for all that you share, and here's to the future for all that you look forward to together. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Ella and Chris, the bride and groom. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Got a bit emotional there for a minute. Thank you, Paul, for that wonderful speech.
You're very welcome.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, friends, family, and children. It's a genuine honour that you have travelled all this distance to be able to join us today and help myself and my new wife celebrate our big day. I know what you're all thinking, and this is a bit of a shocking wedding, and it'll probably never last. Bit late, but late. Oh, can you hear me now? Hear me now? And to be honest, I realise that 14 years is probably not enough time for us to get to know each other's foibles either. But for the sake of the Institute of Marriage, we're going to give it a try anyway. To give you some sort of perspective as to how long Ella has perhaps caught up with me, when we first started going out, Apple had yet to release the first iPod. The euro currency was not yet in circulation, and probably most telling of all, people still genuinely believed that the England team had a chance of winning the men's football team. I'm not sure if you know how me and Ella actually met. Well, it was a cold October Thursday, like I say, 14 years ago. I'd been granted a weekend's leave from the army and I'd managed to convince my brother Rob to let me come out with him. Didn't have many friends at that time. And it was during the course of the night that we ended up on Doncaster High Street in what used to be Edwards Bar, which at the time was a really well-known drinking den for underage schoolgirls who managed to convince their parents to let them go round a friend's house to do homework. And it was while we were in Edwards that I saw the woman of my dreams. I saw a vision. She was stunning. I was hypnotised. And I realised I'd just fallen in love. And it wasn't until I drunkenly stumbled in front of her that the spell was broken. I realised I would better try my luck elsewhere. Obviously, I'm only joking, and it was indeed that vision. Rob knew her from school and introduced us, and we spent the rest of the evening getting to know each other. Ella had to leave early though. Apparently she had a test at school the next morning. We didn't actually go on our first date for another 3 months or so as I was away in Northern Ireland. However, we spent much of that time in contact. Texting had just been invented. And I since spent most of my credit, if everyone can remember what that was, on keeping Ella up to date with the comings and goings of my life. I'm not so sure Ella was that into me though. She rarely texted me back. And whenever she did, she could only send 1 or 2 messages, because apparently she'd run out of credit as well. Undeterred, whenever she said this, and not really realising that she was trying to give me the cold shoulder, I inevitably would buy some more credit for her phone and text it through to her so she could text me back. I started paying Ella's bills early in our relationship. To be honest, not much has changed since. I would like to thank Ella's parents, Paul and Shell, for welcoming me so unreservedly into their family so many years ago. I can only imagine their horror when I first turned up on their doorstep as a scruffy, spotty, and slightly shifty-looking 18-year-old, trying to court their first child. However, they must have taken solace in the fact that Ella was going through a bit of rough phase, and I would only be on the scene for a short while, or until they got fed up with the smell. Luckily for me, Ella never really grew out of this phase. And I quickly became part of the furniture at the Carolyn homestead. Are you crossing things out? Like I say, luckily for me, Ella never really grew out of this phase, and I very quickly became part of the furniture at the Carolyn homestead. Paul and Shell have generously given to today's wedding. And whilst the money was nice and appreciated, it is in their love, care and advice that has benefited me the most over the years. It's no exaggeration at all to say that I would not be the man I am and I would not be sitting here today if it wasn't for that. So thank you. And I think we've actually got you a present, I believe. No? Okay. No. Don't like that much. Some people did inquire as to whether I asked Paul for his permission to marry Ella, and he's stolen part of my speech, and I did. When we were in Portugal, just finished playing golf, to soften him up a bit, I'd let him win. Paul did agree, thankfully, and said yes eventually. And then two or three weeks later, once Ella had returned the ring that I'd chosen for her and replaced it with one that she actually liked, we were engaged. I would like to thank my mum for her contribution to today, but more importantly, for the values and beliefs she instilled upon me at a very young age. We didn't have a lot when we were growing up, but it is a testament to my mum that no matter where you are from or how difficult, I was going to say your childhood was, it wasn't that bad. Beach Road.
Well, we're still there, be careful.
However, it's a testament to my mum that no matter where you are from, if your parents are hardworking, honest, loving and caring, nothing else really matters, and you will turn out to be okay. My mum's turned out 6 examples of this, and while some may argue that we are not perfect, I would disagree. Oh. If it was not for our mum's example, our love, her love, and for the sacrifices that she made in order to give us the opportunities we had, we would not be sat here today. So thanks for that, Mum. We have got ready. Just a bit. Oh, but I'm going to try and get through this before I start crying. I'm positive that the groom can rarely stand up in front of the wedding party and not lie when he says he's genuinely happy to see everyone here. I can say this wholeheartedly, and myself and Ella are sincerely overjoyed that each and every one of you have made the journey over here today. We know it's been expensive, and it means the world to us that you've done it, so thank you very much for that. They say you don't marry the person you can live with. You marry the person you can't live without. And this brings me on to my beautiful new bride, Ella. I cannot begin to explain how stunningly beautiful she looks today. When I saw Ella coming up the aisle, I realised just how lucky I am. I looked at myself, and I knew it was definitely me who was getting the best deal. Ella, I love you in so many ways, and for so many reasons. You understand me like nobody else could. You always make me laugh and smile. You're my best friend, my soulmate. I love you. You've made me the happiest man alive, and I intend to spend the rest of my life making sure the reverse is also true. I love you. And I'm sure you all realise that their attention to detail has gone a long way into making today's flow so smoothly. So for this reason, I'd like to propose a toast to my wife, Ella. To Ella. In a break from today, not finished, I'm supposed in a break from tradition, I want to point you to the fact that the bride is drinking today. Every wedding we've been to for the last 2 or 3 years, the bride has not been drinking and she's secretly been pregnant. I can confirm this isn't the case today, and you will need to wait a little bit longer for that piece of news. I would also like to thank Kylie, Holly and Sally for being 3 of the most fabulous bridesmaids I've ever seen. They look fantastic. And they did a fantastic job in helping Ella to get ready for today, so well done. It's not always possible for everyone who would like to come to our special occasions to actually be there. And the same is true for today. There are a number of people who, for whatever reason, be that they are heavily pregnant, John's wife, they've just given birth, John's wife. They are too frail to travel or simply not with us anymore, cannot be here to enjoy today. The day will suffer for their absence. So, for ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to propose my final toast, although I am going to go on a little bit after this, no more toast though, to absent friends. Ladies and gentlemen, absent friends. Nearly finished. Finally, I would like to introduce my best man, John. Or Bailey, as he is more commonly known. John and I have been best friends for over 20 years now. And throughout that time, he's always been there for me when it matters. He's always been ready with an encouraging word. He might not be the best at organising things. He might not even be the most suitable candidate. There may have been times when I wished he wasn't my best man. But John is my best friend. And for this reason, and for our long association, I feel that I need to give him the chance to prove himself here today.
You're disappointed.
But before I hand over to John, and for those of you who don't know him, I just want to give you a word of warning. For some strange reason, custom dictates that the groom has to present his defence before he's had the opportunity of hearing the best man make the case for the prosecution. I have no idea what stories he's planning on telling you about me today. And the simple fact is, I'm worried. And bearing in mind this is the man who during his own groom speech described his wife as looking merely adequate. She's not here today, surprise, surprise. Oh, because my character is so unblemished, and as I have lived such a saintly life, he may have to resort to making something up. So, please take anything he tells you with the appropriate pinch of salt. And if you can bear with him, maybe even join in with him on his journey of make-believe, I would appreciate it. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to John. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, right, yes, thank you very much, everyone. There was a couple of amazing speeches I've got to follow there, so I'm going to try my best. This isn't full of my words of wisdom on Chris, but there's a couple of bits, my big shopping there and stuff like that. It is, unlike the rest of them who's got a shabby bits of paper, it is nicely leather bound and so I think I better start off. I need to I don't know the order of the, I've not really researched this at all, but I don't know the order of who I need to thank and bits and bobs like that, so I'm just going to just dive straight into that and just give some general thanks out to people. So everyone, again, the bridesmaids scrubbed up surprisingly well. People are generally looking pretty good. And, Paul, Shell, Maureen, thanks very much. Everyone's looking nice, and thanks for everyone for being here. So I think we've generally covered the general thanks there. Before I get started, I want to send this photo around. So if you just sort of pass that on the tables and we'll get we'll get that round. We'll get that round to everyone. I did have a plan to have like this full multimedia setup. I had like photos that I could have printed out and like a PowerPoint and stuff like that. But the problem is I was worried I was going to take all these photos down to Boots to get like printed out. But I was worried I was going to get picked up with the police because some of the content of these photos, especially with Chris, I was worried that I was going to be like some sort of war criminal. What they'd have thought of some of these photos. So I thought that's I've got one that's pretty safe, and we'll see how that goes. Like Chris said, he'd like to think this is all fabrication, but this speech is going to be generally very short because I think literally any of the stories I actually know about Chris, or most of us know about Chris, if I actually told them out loud in this forum, I think people would be so disgusted and people would just leave and the whole night would be ruined. So for that reason, this speech is going to be pretty short and comprehensive. So I'll just dive straight in there. I did promise a few people I had a bit of a quiz that I was going to pop out there just to get people's minds thinking, and we'll ask we'll get the answer at the end. I think we got a prize to whoever gets the closest. It's like free drinks online from Chris or something like that. But 2 big bags of veg from a market stall. Don't ruin it, Rob. Jesus. Well, Rob's ruining it now, so anyway. So I'll just dive straight in there. Me and Chris have, ever since I've known him, we've been pretty competitive. We've always tried to outdo each other since we first knew each other at school. We for example, Chris, as soon as we left school, Chris, as you all know, Chris joined the Paras. So immediately, since he joined the most inferior regiment in the British Army, I had to do one better and join the Royal Marines. So you lost out straight away on that one. But our competitiveness goes to such lengths that I even had to break my ankle one time on a night out just to beat him on a somersault competition. And yeah, so I will go to excessive lengths to beat Chris. Yeah, you didn't even complete the challenge. Yeah, but you didn't even do it. Anyway, I'm not going to get into argument because I obviously won, and he feels a bit bitter about it. Well, this is like the third time it's come up, but I'm going to go back to his time in Northern Ireland when he was in Paris. I didn't realise everyone, a man and his dog had it in his speech. I'm going to move on to Chris's time in Paris because, like has been said before, that's when he first started meeting Ella, and this is like it must be a testament to their love or something like that. Why their love is so strong or lasted this long? Because Chris, I remember Chris being over in Northern Ireland, and it's either because of the love between him and Ella, or it was I don't know if it was like a specifically horrific tour over there against the terrorists or something like that. But Chris desperately wanted to come home early, such to the extent that he got one of his mates to stamp on his ankle, so he could have a bad ankle so he could get home early. So I don't know whether it was pretty horrific out there with the terrorists or he just wanted to get home and see Ella, but he was pretty desperate to get back to Doncaster. And then after that, he ended up leaving the Paras and joining the civilian world. I don't know whether that was for the love of his life or for the shame that his little sister Emma has more medals than him. Is that what worked his way around yet?
Yeah, no, very good.
So I'm going to tie it up there. There's not what else to say. Like I say, it's all the best stories have been stolen by the fact that they're too horrendous. But I just want to tie it up at the end by saying that we've been friends, me, Ella, and Chris, and all those guys for quite a long while, and I'd just like to say now that I don't really like Ella that much. Just for the simple reason that this photo here, me and Chris went to Thailand. That was the only sort of lads holiday we had together, just the two of us, and it was a pretty good time on it. We got pretty horrendously drunk and did a few things that again can't be mentioned. But yeah, I specifically don't like Ella because she has actually stolen my best friend away from me. To be honest, she's we were pretty tight, and then Ella turned up, and like I didn't have any chance to see my best friend, and everyone went their separate ways, and it was all pretty sad. So I actually really hate you. That's appropriate. But yeah, so but no. To be fair though, on the flip side, as most of you know Chris, and he is pretty hard work to know for a long period of time. So anyone that could put up with him for the period you have and for the years ahead of you has got my kudos. So it's up to you now. I've had enough. But yeah, so I'm nearly finished now. I'm just going to wrap up. But I just wanted one last. Rob ruined my ending. Seems though he shouted out that it was 6 quid. But yeah, I just want to finish off with just a nice little bit of friendly advice out there for you. If ever you are lucky enough to receive Chris and Ella round at your house, make sure, for God's sake, that in all the toilets situated around the house, you have enough toilet paper in the toilet. Otherwise, you might be likely to see some sort of pair of pants in the corner. So I don't know. But anyway, so for those reasons and many others, please stand up. More for Ella than Chris, but for the bride and groom, Chris and Ella.
No, I wanted that.